Hey, welcome to Lady Overlander Radio. Tonight we're chatting with Willow of the Kombi Chronicles. Stay tuned. Grab your favorite drink, whether it's a coffee, cocktail, or tea, and get ready. It's Ladies' Night on Lady Overlander Radio. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. The Lady Overlander Radio podcast is available live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also catch the audio version on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other major podcast platforms. Enjoy the show. Hey, Arla. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, girl. Hey.
What you doing?
Living the dream. Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Right on.
The work adulting dream, of course.
Boo.
Yeah. Do not recommend. Do not recommend.
0 out of 10.
Yeah. I need to win the lottery, but I never buy the tickets. So, yeah. I don't know.
They say you can't win if you don't play.
That's the rumor I hear. But I still want to complain about it. So, there's that.
Yep.
There's that.
Yep.
What about you?
Well, right now we're in Montana, in Gallatin National Forest. So we're going to camp here for a couple of days, and then we're going to slowly start making our way up to Glacier National Park, because that is my bucket list national park, and I cannot wait to see it. So,
Gotcha.
Yep. Got my bear spray in case I need it.
Yeah.
So y'all warn me if there's any bears behind me that I don't see. Over there on them their hills.
I'm a
little nervous, but we've taken all the precautions and done all the things we're supposed to do, so we'll see.
You've been riding that new fancy electric bike around behind you?
I have. I'm thinking take off, man.
Liking
it's so fast. I love it. Yeah? But you got to don't lean back at all when you start to take off, because it will pop the front tire up. Like, it goes.
Really?
Yeah, I could pop wheelies all day and not even try.
Okay, so I'm going to need you to do a reel on that and post it up.
When I fall and bust my head open? Probably.
I'm not really looking for you to do that part, but if you can get that guy that you're married to video that so you can do a reel, that'd be great.
You got it.
And then send it to that company, because they're going to use it on a commercial. I feel it.
Yeah, probably.
With your hat on too.
Oh yeah, my Overland Hair Don't Care hat. That's what this is.
Oh my! I want to see that, but don't bust your head. See?
I'll try
already.
I'll do my best.
You'll do your best.
So what do we got coming up soon?
Lord, who do we what?
So this weekend you've got a ladies camp out, right?
Yep, Lady Overlander Radio and Feral Chick Outdoors collab to do a women's camp out, trail ride, just a all around just hang out kind of a girls thing.
Yeah, and then you got bonfire this weekend also.
Yep, so we'll do that. Well, the first night we're going to camp out, and the next morning we're going to part of us are going to head out on the trail, and when they get back, the other part will head out on the trail, and then we'll head over to bonfire, which it doesn't even start till like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I think. So, and it is what it is. It's a big bonfire.
That's exactly how it sounds. Yeah,
it's just a camp out with a big bonfire at Mulberry Mountain Lodge. Not at the place that they usually do like rendezvous at, but it's across the highway over in a different field. So it's not on the same premises as the other events they have there.
Right on.
So yeah, should be fun. And then we have another one coming up 2 weeks after that. Yeah.
You're going to be busy.
Jody says that she all packed up and ready to roll.
Right on.
I ain't done a thing, girl. Ha!
back at the last.
You must not know about me.
Yep.
I mean, I'll get there. You know.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw some clothes in there. I don't know. I'm gonna wing it.
I mean, you might as well.
I'm gonna fake it till I make it.
The good thing about being with such a large group is if you forget something, somebody else probably has it. So.
Very true. Probably 4 or 5 of them, to be honest. You know what I mean?
So you'll be good.
Yeah, we'll be just fine. Yeah, it's gonna be a little warm, but that will be pretty good. I'm gonna come up tomorrow and camp, then hook up with y'all. Heck. Oh, you're coming up from Dallas, right? Am I crazy there? Am I guessing there?
Texas.
Oh, Tammy. So where you at, Misty? I've been all over that state on fire detail.
So we are just a little south of Bozeman in the Gallatin National Forest right now. So hopefully there's no fires or bears. That's what I'm hoping.
Wow.
I got my bear spray in me, so
right on. And there's our other little partner in crime, Jessie.
Hey, Jessie.
Feral Chick Outdoors. She's the other half of the event this weekend and 2 weeks after that.
Right on.
Yeah. And you're up there in Montana.
Yeah.
You're gonna head up to your bucket list, do your bucket list stuff, and then you're heading over to PNW to represent Lady of Orlando Radio.
Yep, Overland Expo Pacific Northwest.
Yep. Teach them classes and all the things, and
yep, we'll have a dedicated space, dedicated tent for Lady of Orlando Radio, and we'll be doing classes in there all weekend. So that'll be pretty awesome. So please, let us know if you'll be out there. Come by and say hi, hang out, and do some networking.
That's right. Hey, girl. Hey.
Hey, Jasper Jeep Jam. So we got a couple other expos and things coming up. We've got Overland of America. We've got Rendezvous. We've got Our Ladies Camping Retreat in the fall. We've got quite a few other things coming up in the next 6 months or so.
Got Big Iron Overland Rally.
We'll be busy.
We'll be pretty busy. Yeah. For sure.
So the only other thing I have is that the first inaugural Warriors in the Wild event went off without a hitch this past weekend. We had 4 veterans and 2 veteran spouses that came for that event. It went really well. Aaron from Switchback Outdoor Safety knocked it out of the park. I don't know how he was able to talk all day long and do all of that by himself, but he did it, and it was fantastic. So
he's used to doing that whole thing. Been doing that for a few years now, so I'm sure he's got it down to a science. He makes it look easy.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of those guys are in off-road clubs, and they said they're going to go and tell their club members to sign up for that stuff too, and kind of get everybody in the club going to that, which I think is a fantastic idea.
That's great.
So, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, should we bring our guest on?
Bring her on.
All right.
Let's go.
I hope you're ready, Willow. We're coming for you.
We're coming for you.
We're coming for you. Hey, Willow.
She is.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. How are you guys?
We're great. So, where are you talking to us from right now?
I am in Argentina, in the kind of northern central Argentina, near where all the wine is, most importantly.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
I'm on my way.
I prefer where you are. Look at that sun. We've been in darkness for 3 hours, and it's really cold, so kind of jealous of that.
Yeah, it gets really chilly here at night, but in the day it's nice and warm, but there's no humidity, which I love. I hate humidity. So
especially camping.
I'm digging this. But so you're in your little VW Kombi named Ruby, correct?
Yep, we are. She's a 48-year-old Kombi from England. Well, Hungary originally, but she's an English import that we have brought down here to South America. And we are still managing to live inside her, even though she is very small.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
Hey, Benji.
hello, Benji.
Hi, Benji. Hi. Yeah, this is the other podcast.
Oh, you've been on Benji? Yeah.
Yeah.
Benji's our friend.
Good people. We love Benji.
He's pretty cool.
He's all right.
He's okay. I mean, he's, if you're into that kind of thing.
So why don't you go ahead and give the audience a little background on yourself and your partner and your pets and all the things.
Okay, so I'm half of what we call the Kombi Chronicles because we are in a Kombi. We've been on the road now for nearly 5 years as of August. We started in New York and we've so far driven to Argentina in our Kombi with Lee, who is the other half of this ridiculous adventure. And we have 2 adopted cats with us as well, one from America, from Washington, and one from Ecuador as well.
Aww.
Where's the spicy cat from? Ecuador or Washington?
Yeah, no, she's Ecuador.
Oh, okay.
The other one's spicy too, though. They're both personalities.
Yeah, we had a little cat attack happen right before we went live, so we're just curious.
Yes. She was a little sassy. Oh,
she is daily sassy.
Oh, yes.
So you guys have been on the road for about 5 years, and you've started in the United States and worked your way down to South America now. And you said, we were talking before the show, and you said you guys spent the time during COVID in Mexico. Tell us what that was like.
So yeah, we when we started, it was a year trip where we planned to travel America and Canada only. And we were going to kind of do this loop, around the coast of America, starting in New York and going kind of southwest and then north, and then loop back through Canada and ship out back to England. And then we decided that 6 months to see all of America really isn't very long. So we popped across to Mexico thinking that we might get a bit more time on our visa. And then while we were in Mexico, the pandemic hit and America shut its border for 2 years. So we ended up spending, the pandemic, we lived in Mexico for a year and a half. And actually it was, I think, probably a very good choice. I think Mexico is one of the only countries in the whole world that didn't shut its borders. So it was quite rightly or wrongly so, quite a chilled place to be in that time. And we actually managed to travel a little bit still. And internally within the country, obviously it's a huge country, so there's a lot to see in Mexico. Good people, good food. And it was a pretty solid choice looking at how our family got on back home.
I mean, if you got to be stuck somewhere during the pandemic, I guess Mexico sounds like a good place to be with all the delicious food and the freedom to move around. So,
yeah, it definitely was. And I suppose maybe a bad thing because of why it's like that, but it's a very day-to-day lifestyle. People don't buy for a month. They don't stock up on stuff. Most people, a lot of them live every day. They get paid, they go to the shop. And so there wasn't this like panic buy thing, it was actually quite normal still there. Nobody did that. It was because they probably couldn't afford to, but it meant that actually for us it was quite relaxed as it could be. Obviously we don't really have the space to panic buy toilet roll and store it. So
yeah, we traveled during the pandemic. My husband was doing a short-term contract for work, and it varied. Every different place we went had different protocols. Some places were kind of lax, some were really, really strict. So it's just that, and that was just in the United States. So I'm wondering if it was the same way in Mexico. Maybe different areas seemed to be a little more strict than others, or did everything seem to just be chill all the way around?
It wasn't 100%. It wasn't like relax on the beach, enjoy yourself, quite chilled. It was relatively chilled compared to the rest of the world, I would say. But what they did is they had a rating system for the state. So if the state went into red based on the number of new cases or whatever, then the police would really like come down on travelers, and they threw us out of states in the middle of the night on occasion and forced us to move on and so on. But yeah, I think, like you said, it really depended on the individual place that you were, and some places were more relaxed. And we also traveled with friends, so it was nice to have that little bit of security as well, because it was a very weird time for everybody, I think.
Oh yeah, it definitely was. Absolutely. So how often do you get to meet up with friends on the road?
It's really varied. When we arrived in America, we never saw anybody at all, because we came into New York. I think most people tend to do the West, because a lot of people who do this trip, they ship to Canada, they drive across Canada, and they come down the West into Mexico. So they don't really do the East Coast a lot. So we didn't see many people at all, really, to be honest. Then we hit Mexico. We saw quite a few. Pandemic happened. Everybody panicked and went home. And then we've been coming down. It's off and on, but I would say now we've reached Argentina. We've seen a lot of people. It's very popular, like this lifestyle here. So we've been very social recently, and that's quite nice. But it's nice to have a change. And I think now maybe we're so slow as well. We have friends and we meet friends, and then they all kind of finish the trip and go home, and we're like here, like, oh, I broke my engine again. Be back on the road soon. So yeah, it's a mixed bag.
That's pretty cool. You have a pretty interesting work background. You want to tell the audience about what you used to do before you hit the road?
Sure. I have a degree in jewelry. Obviously.
Oh. I didn't expect you to say that.
I know. That's why I said it. That's what I wanted to do when I was younger. I was an arty kind of person, and I like that kind of area. So I actually have a degree in that. And then while I finished my degree, I met Lee, and he started university late, and he wanted to do teaching, and we had this vague plan of traveling started to kind of form. And I thought, oh well, he wanted the Kombi, that was his thing, but we all probably have an understanding of how unreliable those cars can be. And so while I waited for him to finish his degree, I thought I'll do a little bit of mechanics, like a part-time course, and maybe like a night school thing, just to know a little bit about this in case something comes up. But I couldn't find anything that was particularly, it was either like, oh, here's how to top up your washer bottle, and like stuff you could really just pick up on YouTube, very simple, or it was a full-blown like mechanics course, and I had the time, so I thought, okay, I'll do a year of it. So I went from university to college with a bunch of 16-year-old teenagers and did mechanics, which was interesting. And then they said, oh, if you like it, you don't need to do the second year, you can skip straight to the third year. And I did that, and then I got offered a job, and then basically ended up in the industry, and I was a teacher for car mechanics for 4 years after that, before we left the trip as well. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting background, I suppose.
And then you ended up teaching, correct?
Yeah, I did only 2 years myself studying it, and it was never something I really was going to get into, but I do find it very interesting, and I do enjoy the subject. And I just happened to mention to my boss, I had like 1 year, I was like, oh, if you hear of anybody wants like a temporary teacher or something part-time, then can you let me know? And he was like, yep, you can come work for me now.
That's
which
awesome.
Was great.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
He's a very cool guy, and he let me bring in this car that we bought afterwards into the college where I worked, and my students and I built this camper together as I was teaching them. So
that's
that
definitely
was
killing two birds with one stone. Yeah, that's awesome. So do your former students follow along on your adventures? Do they track
did at the
you guys?
start. I had a few who did. I'm not sure if any do. I'm not sure how communicative 18-year-old boys are sometimes with that kind of thing. I'm not sure if any of them still do follow me or it at all. Maybe because I had a few message and they're like, I did that bit of your car, that was me, I fitted that bit on there and stuff, which was quite cool. But obviously, you know, we've been a long time into this now, so I'm not sure if they're still there.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I'll get another vehicle coming flying by. Excuse me.
Excuse me, pardon me. Slow down.
The campsite we have is right on a beautiful creek, but it's also right next to the road. So you're going to have some background noise, unfortunately.
I haven't heard anything yet, so you're good.
Oh, that's good. You just see the cars flying by.
I just see the dust, you know, start flying through. Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys have been in Argentina for a bit, and you said when we talked before we went live, you said you're going to be there for a little while longer. And then, do you guys have any plans of your next adventure or location after you leave South America, or are you going to be there for an indeterminate amount of time and you're just going to chill down there?
So right now we're heading to Uruguay because we have a flight back to England to see our family.
Okay.
In July, so that's going to be really nice. So I went home 2 years ago for 3 weeks, and Lee has never been home this entire trip, so he hasn't seen his family for 5 years, which is crazy. So that's going to be different, I think, going back to European culture after this. It's a bit of a change. But then when we come back, we are making it to Ushuaia, the end of the world. It's like the ultimate, you know, last town further south that you can go, which we are trying to go to. So we're going to make it there one way or another. And then come back up via the eastern coast of the continent. And then once we hit Colombia again, we're starting to look for property here. We plan to live here somewhere. We're kind of searching for the right place. We're not quite sure which country yet, but we don't really want to move back to the UK. So we're scouting it out as we go, kind of hoping to bump into this perfect destination where we go, oh my goodness, this is it. I don't want to live here, but I haven't got there yet.
Right on. That sounds like an awesome plan. For sure.
So whenever you go back for your visit with your family, I guess you'll have to bring the kitty cats with you.
We are leaving them in Uruguay. So we found a workway who is a cat sanctuary, and we have agreed to swap roughly a month of our time volunteering with her, and she's going to look after our cats for us.
Okay.
Which is really cool because, as you can imagine, the cost of transporting them is huge and also maybe a bit traumatic for them. And then we go home, all our family already have cats and dogs and pets, so they'd be coming with us without the van, and then they'd have to stay in a random house with a load of other pets. And I think it would be not only a huge expense for us, but like quite horrible for them. So we've decided that we're gonna have them looked after here instead, which will be a bit weird because we've never been without them.
Do you run into any issues whenever you're going from country to country as far as, you know, like paperwork or anything like that, trying to get them across? I know with dogs and stuff, there seems to be sometimes a lot of issues depending on the country you go into, but I haven't really talked to anybody who's traveling the country with their cat.
I mean, it's exactly the same as a dog. The papers are the same. Okay. And it's very dependent on the country as to how much they care about it. So technically on paper, they all have the same requirements, really, that you have to go to a vet and get a health certificate. You have to get these government documents, and all of this stuff is technically required. But we never paid for any of it or did any of it for the first 3 countries because we, you know, apps like iOverlander are really great for giving you information about previous people's experiences, and they just don't care, and you'll spend all that money on papers and then no one will care. at all. So it's pointless. When you come to countries like Chile, they are really, really strict on entry, and they'll search your van and they'll take away like everything, like honey and wood and beans. And if you have something that you didn't declare, they can fine you a really big amount of money. So it's better just to do it legitimately for countries like that. And it's not difficult, it's just irritating. Like you have to go to the vet, and then you have to get the papers, and you have to go to the government office and get their papers, and then it's the whole process. But it's perfectly possible. Just it's way more complicated than our visas or the papers for the van. That's really easy, it's free, you just turn up. But the pets you have to put a bit more planning into.
Wow. That seems like a lot of logistics between the vehicle and you guys and the animals, and making sure you don't have the wrong firewood with you. And
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it's probably what makes it stressful. I'm not sure we've ever like legally crossed the border. Like there's always something where I'm like, oh, quick, hide the firewood, or hide the cat, or the paperwork went out of date yesterday, or something like that. But on the whole, they're a bit more relaxed than the border officials for our home countries. So it's okay, really. You know, they're not going to throw you in jail or something like that, or deport you or whatever that I'm sure they would do if you turned up to England with like an illegal pet.
yeah, well, they don't want to deal with those spicy cats either. So
And the good thing is, you know, we're land travelers, so we can just go back into the country and we're like, okay, I'll try another time. I'll go to a different border. I'll sort out my papers, you know, whatever. But if you're flying in it, it's much kind of a different ball game. But at least being in a car, you can drive off again.
yeah. So how many times do you think you guys have had to fix Ruby since you got on the road?
Wow, that's we've been to a garage in every single country, definitely. We've been to 14 countries so far. We've got through 3 engines, 3 gearboxes, and that's just the big stuff, which is easy to like remember. It's it's probably easier to say what we haven't fixed on her. Like everything is broken at one point or another. Yeah, she is a hot mess, I think, is a good description.
So do you guys have a hard time sourcing parts, or has it been fairly easy so far?
No, it's pretty hard. For example, countries like Mexico, you can find the parts, but often it's a quality problem. They're really cheap Chinese things where they stamp on the VW logo and it's really not of that quality at all. So we've bought brand new things that have broken like a few days later. And then when you come to this continent, it's quite hard because they have, in Brazil, they made a Kombi later, you know, a later model version until the kind of early 2000s. And so all of the Kombis here are this Brazilian model, because why would you have a German Kombi when you're in, you know, Argentina and Brazil is next to you? Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. So the ones here are from this continent, and they are different. They look similar, but underneath they're really, really different. Like the engine, the brakes, the chassis is very, very different. And so if you want to find German parts down here, that's quite difficult. And then we've got an engine conversion as well, which complicates things just that little bit more.
Wow. That's even more logistics.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's the best or the most sensible choice for traveling. I think it's always a really big consideration when you buy something to overland, is like how available are the parts going to be where you're going to go, because it really, you know, it might be great in America, and then you go down to like Guatemala and no one's ever heard of your car and they're like, what is that? and it does really change from country to country quite significantly. Even when the countries are close or small, the difference is big, and it's hard to get one car that's easily able to find parts and fix in multiple countries. That's quite a challenge, I think.
Yeah.
Even with hindsight, I'm not sure what would be like a really good car to have because of that variation. So it's a challenge, whatever you drive.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I've heard that Toyotas are pretty popular in South America, but then if you go to another country or another continent, you know, they may not be. So like you said, it just depends on where you are. And, you know, you could have a hard time sourcing parts in Germany if you were there right now. So
yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's also the models as well. So like you might have this Toyota, and then we have people with Toyota Land Cruiser, you know, like really capable, great car. But then when they've gone to, I don't know, some city in Peru, for argument's sake, they're like, oh no, that's not the model that we have in this country, and they don't have the parts for that model, even though it's a very popular car. So it's a bit of a minefield. Sometimes you have to import things in from other countries. Like we've imported things from America, from England several times because it's just not available to buy.
yeah. Wow. Yep. Have you ever broken down and thought, okay, this is it. She's not going to get started again. We're going to be stuck here. Like we're going to have to hang it up.
Many times. The first time it broke, and people kind of, I think, they say, well, you know, how good at mechanics can you really be, because your car is constantly broken, and partly it's part quality and availability, and partly it's some poor choices in where we drove on our part, and partly it's very bad luck. Like the first time we broke the engine, it was totally our fault. We drove through this horrible, muddy, wet puddle, and we flooded the engine, and that utterly ruined it.
Oh.
And yeah, we were sitting, and we only in 6 months in, I think, maybe a little bit more. And I remember sitting in Mexico in a garage, like crying my eyes out, like, oh my God, it's over. I can't believe this has happened. But then we found another engine from Canada, actually. We shipped it, we fitted it, and we got back on the road. And the last time the engine broke, which was in Argentina or Chile-ish, we just went, it's done it again. You know, it's all relative. Like the first time was the worst possible thing, and then the second time, third time, you're like, you know.
Okay.
Wow. Would you say that you're more of the planner of the trips and all the things, or is Lee?
I think we're pretty equal, actually, in nearly everything. Like I know a lot of couples, and one's the driver and one's the cook and one's the planner, and it's, you know, more kind of that's just how they work. But for us, we split up basically everything, I would say, pretty equally. Like we both drive, we both cook, we both plan. He's just saying I rebuild the engine, but he also, like, I may be the delegating behind the scenes, but like whenever we fix the car, it's the two of us together. And back in Peru, we said no more garages. So I'm not going to a garage. They just keep breaking my car. So anytime it breaks, we fix it together. And yeah, it's pretty equal, really.
Sounds like you guys make a pretty good team.
You have to.
Yes,
I think it's make or break. You go through to live in a Kombi is very small, and to live through a pandemic in a Kombi is an experience. And then to have, you know, like any normal people, like we argue and we fall out, and we also have pets, and we've had some very stressful breakdowns. And at the end of the day, it's okay, but I could see quite easily how that would be just way too much. I think if you weren't compatible or like very much on the same page, then I think I know of other people and other couples that just said, no, I can't do this. Like I can't spend every living minute of my day looking at you because it's just too much. But we're lucky that it was actually okay for us.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people think, oh, it's just like a permanent vacation, but it really is a lifestyle choice. And it's definitely not easy at many, many times throughout the journey, I'm sure. Oh, did we lose her?
Maybe.
Willow, are you still there?
She's frozen.
She's frozen.
Look,
Oh,
there she is.
There she is.
I'm back. I'm here.
It happens to me all the time.
It's the Starlink, you know, sometimes you get like a bunch in the way or something and it seems to cut out for a second. Hopefully it won't do that too often.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now I've forgotten what you asked me.
Oh, I was just commenting that, you know, everybody that sees people that travel full time, they're like, oh, wow, it must be nice to be like on a permanent vacation and doing whatever you want. But I was saying that it's really more of a lifestyle choice than a vacation. And it's definitely not easy at times.
No, I think it's actually really, I don't want to sound dramatic or it's so hard because I think it's very extreme. Like it's the best thing. I've had the best times I've ever had and the best things ever. And I've seen the most amazing stuff. But at the same time, I have had like the worst days ever. It's like so much more extreme, the highs and the lows, because when it breaks, it's like your whole world broke, you know, like my car it's not just my car, it's my house and it's all linked into my visa. And I'm in a country where I don't speak fluently the language, and it, you know, it's like so much more of a problem than if I drove to work and my car doesn't work properly. It's everything's gone wrong, and then at the same time we get to see the most amazing places, we get to meet fantastic people, and yeah, it's super extreme.
Do you have a favorite place that you've seen so far?
It's really hard to pick one after all this time. It really is. We definitely have highlights, and like I love Colombia as a country in general. We've really enjoyed the beaches on like the Pacific coast in like Costa Rica. We've seen like amazing rainforests and stuff and live volcanoes in Ecuador. I couldn't narrow it down to like one thing, and there's always a highlight of every country, you know, that there's one thing and you're like, or several things you're like, wow, I'm going to remember that for a really, really long time. But yeah, it's impossible to pick a favorite.
Yeah. And you also don't know if you've been there yet either. You might not have ever visited your favorite place yet. So
true.
That is totally true.
Very true.
Yep. So what do you guys do for meals? Do you normally eat out, or do you try to just cook at home in the van, or how are you guys set up for that?
We cook, I would say like 90% of the time. We really like cooking. And when I started this, I was vegetarian. I think it's moved to flexitarian because, you know, sometimes the locals cook you food. Like you'll just be parked on the street and they'll just come up to you and they're like, I've made you dinner, and they'll just give you a plate of food, and you're like, I can't. It would be so rude for me to be like, oh no, I'm sorry, I'm vegetarian and I don't want to eat that, because, you know, some of these people, they don't have very much money and they just really wanted to be kind, and you don't want to throw it back in their face for, like, I have no other reason apart from the fact that I'm like, oh, I'd rather not. It's not like I'm, you know, have an allergy or something like that. So we've kind of eaten more of that than I normally would. At the same time, the food here can be quite repetitive, and so when we like to cook, we generally end up cooking ourselves most of the time. We always try the local food to a point, especially the cocktails, of course. But yeah, most of the time we cook. We have a diesel cooker in our van that we
nice
use. Yeah,
very good. Cool. Very, very nice. What do you got, Arla? You got any other questions for her?
No, I was going to ask you what your favorite thing is to have or to cook.
Oh, favorite food to cook. Gotcha.
Yeah, favorite thing to prepare, I guess.
That is, I don't know. We make so much stuff. I think one of our favorite things is just we try and make the thing that we've like tried locally. We'll try and like recreate a version of it. We quite enjoy like experimenting and making something really, really bizarre. And we don't have loads of space for all the things that I would like to make. You know, some of the equipment that my kitchen back home had certainly doesn't fit in here. So it's difficult. We really liked baking a typico. It's a dish from Central America that we picked up there, and it's what the locals eat every day. And we kind of tweaked it and adapted it, and we whip that out quite often as well. So yeah, it changes because sometimes you visit and you're like, oh, that was amazing. I need to try and like make that sauce, or I need to figure out how you did that.
Right.
Yum. We like food, so we always ask about food.
I'm always interested on the snacks. Yeah.
Yeah, we're big snackers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we love cooking, so we spent several years trying to perfect our home takeaway that we used to have on Friday nights to try and bring it to life down here, because we both really missed a good curry. So that's like it's probably one of our go-tos, and it's what we cook for people that help us. So if someone's really nice or really helpful, they help us with parts, or they let us, you know, stay for time with them or something like that, then we make them this like curry feast that we have spent years perfecting.
Nice. Yum.
As a way of saying thank you, because most people haven't tried it, so it's something new for them as well, which is kind of cool to be able to share. It's one of the nice things about, you know, meeting new people.
Is it usually received pretty well? Do people usually like are eager to try it, or?
Yeah, everybody so far is eating it, been very nice about it. I'm not sure if they were being polite, but we've had a few requests for the recipe, so hopefully it was they genuinely enjoyed it. And yeah, it's not too like off the wall, so I guess, you know, nothing that you could really take offense to. Like some of the food we've tried is incredibly spicy and stuff like that, and that's a bit of a different thing. But yeah, on the whole, it's gone down pretty well. I'll always eat the leftovers.
Heck yeah. They're snacks. Leftovers are snacks. So we're all about that.
Oh, man.
So did you, when you guys got to, you're in Argentina now, when you got there, did you have to, was that a difficult border crossing, or did you have to do anything specific for that country, or?
Not particularly. We met up with some other friends who also have cats, and we did like cat smuggling across the border, so we didn't have to pay for paperwork, because it's about $100 to pay for them to come in, and we were like, no. So we did like a kind of shifty with our friends, and we looked after each other's cats to go through immigration, which is about the only complicated thing. But we'd already done the border once, so we were lucky because we knew the layout of it and so on. We'd already been across it to come into Argentina. We thought we were going to spend some time here, and then we were here 3 weeks, and the engine started chucking out blue smoke, and we said, right, we have to go back to Chile to fix this, because Chile is the country to do that. So yeah, not too bad. Going into Chile is much worse than coming out of Chile, as a general rule.
Yeah. I've heard Chile and Argentina are a little bit more expensive than a lot of the other countries in South America and Central America. Would you find that to be accurate, or?
Yeah, I mean, Argentina right now is Argentinian inflation, I think, is always a bit of a thing, but I can't remember the figure. Is like something at nearly 300% at the moment.
Oof.
They've had this, yeah, it's insane. They had a change of government in December, and the price of their peso has like halved in value. So it was a very, very cheap country at one point. It was like 30 cents a litre gas, and now it's like $1 a litre. So it's really increased in like 5-6 months. Chile's quite an expensive country, but it's cheap for, it's a bit more like first worldy, I suppose. They're cheaper for products. You know, if you need to buy a new tire, or you need to fix your engine, for example, then go to Chile, because you can get hold of the products and the parts, and it's actually quite reasonable. But if you wanted to pay someone to, like, say, do some welding on your car, then you'd be much better coming to here because the labor prices here are cheaper. So it kind of depends what you need. And if you compare any of that to Bolivia, then it's all very expensive because that's a really cheap country.
Yeah, I've heard that. And I've heard that Chile is sort of similar to the United States with their first world kind of atmosphere there.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. It's the most like, yeah, like America or like Europe. It feels more like that. It's kind of like they have the law enforcement and they don't take bribes like maybe quite a lot of other countries are a bit more like flexible like that. Then you have to have proper insurance for your car. People actually know how to drive their cars. Things are a lot more like regulated there. It's much more like kind of law abiding, and there are a lot more laws, and it's very much more, it feels more like you are in America or Europe or something like that. And when you've come from like Bolivia, which is just it just doesn't have any of that. Chile has like automated like tolls and systems. In Bolivia, it's a guy with a piece of string. So it's like totally opposing ends of the spectrum. Definitely, yeah. But it's the most modern, I would say, country out of all of the ones we've been to so far in this continent.
That's pretty awesome getting that kind of spectrum of experiences, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely and you never know, every country you go to, there'll be one thing and you're like, snacks, especially you're like, I really like this thing. I love this particular like coffee or a really nice something they make or something you can buy, and then you cross the border and it's just gone forever, and you're like, if I knew, I would have stocked up. But you never know until you like leave the thing that you're going to miss.
True.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you guys are looking at eventually getting some property somewhere. Do you think you'll do like a tiny home thing? You guys think you'll still live in the van, or will you build something like huge because you've lived so small for so long?
I think maybe like somewhere in the middle. I don't want to live in the van. I would like a bed that I don't have to make every day, and a sofa that we can both sit on without like fighting each other with our elbows in the middle. We don't need a huge, luxury apartment mansion thing. We want to build like a kind of nice-ish eco home, nothing crazy. We want a campsite for other overlanders to come. Lee wants to do a microbrewery. I want to grow all our own fruit and vegetables and stuff. So we're going to go like full hippie with it.
I love it. Sounds awesome.
Perfect.
It sounds great. I don't want to go back to the 9 to 5 and the I don't know, for want of a better word, like the cliche and the system. I'm not really into that. I'd much rather live in a field with a load of cats, to be honest.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think it's really hard to go back as well once you've left. You have it changes how your perspective is and like what you see, what's available, because you haven't seen maybe that you even had that choice. You didn't even know that wasn't even an option before, and then you see that it is, and that people live like that, and you're like, remind me why I'm not doing that.
Oh yeah,
true.
Arla's going to move down there with you, I think. She's tired of the 9 to 5 and the traffic and the
oh my gosh, awful.
Yeah, it's just a simple life, It's not you're not going to be rich or anything, but I think living like this for a period of time, it's like you kind of realize money is useful and necessary, but it's not the main point of everything. Like, yes, obviously you need it, but I don't really want my life to revolve around it. So if we can be off grid a bit and grow some of our own food and just maybe like give back something to all the people. We have had so many people who have really helped us out, and I'd love to be able to offer them, come on holiday and you can come and stay in our like campground for free because you are helpful to us, or pass on information to other travelers, or that person who's just broken their engine. I'm like, I understand, you can come and fix it here, it's fine.
Been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can cry on my shoulder.
Oh, that's great. That's a great way to pay it forward to other overlanders, really. So
I think it's just a really cool experience as well, like to still be part of the community, even if you're not traveling, and you hear about it and you can still meet other people, and that's quite nice, because I don't want to live in a camper van for the rest of our life, especially not a tiny one like this. But it's still a really interesting way of life, and it's cool to hear about other countries and see other people's travels. So yeah, we're pretty excited to find out where it's going to be.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm excited to follow your story and see where you guys end up.
Yep. Next chapter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
but we just got to get to the end first.
That's right.
Yep. You still got plenty of time.
Plenty more engines.
You got time.
Money. Yeah. So if people want to follow your story, where can they find you on social media and the like?
We are the Kombi Chronicles. Kombi with a K, Chronicles with a C, how we would normally spell it, just to clarify, because they call it with a C down here for Kombi. And we're on everything with that. So we're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all of the same stuff. We put out videos. We try to put out videos every week. And yeah, we're pretty active on Facebook and Instagram and anything really. So people can follow us, or happy to answer questions and, you know, help out with anything, shipping, insurance, whatever you like. If anyone's interested in following, then that's cool.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. We really enjoyed chatting with you, and we hope to share a campfire with you sometime in the future.
Pretty cool.
Absolutely. You will be welcome.
Thanks, Willow. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.